All right, this is Brother Peter with tidbits from the Word. So proud to be with you today, September 13th, 2011. It said, "And he lifted up his eyes and his disciples and said," now Jesus has lifted up his eyes and he's fixing to speak. He's come out of a seclusion of prayer time, and he said, "Blessed be ye poor, for yours is the kingdom of God." That's kind of a conundrum to say to these 12, because if you will please, Peter had 2 ships, had crews working for him. He was not exactly what you would call a poor man. He might have not been learned, but he was not a poor man. He might have not been learned of the schools that some others were, but he was a smart man. And then he's saying this to his group of disciples, which contains Matthew, who sat at customs, and which contains Luke, who was a historian, which contains a doctor and a lawyer, and which contain all different types of people, and many of those were money-making people. But they left all to become poor so that they could be served in the kingdom of God. And they left their riches, their worldly riches, so they could become poor in the worldly riches to live for God. "Blessed are ye that hunger now, for ye shall be filled. Blessed are ye that weep now, for ye shall laugh. Blessed are ye when men shall hate you, and when they shall separate you from their company, and shall reproach you, and cast out your name as evil for the Son of Man's sake. Rejoice ye in that day, leap for joy, for behold, your reward is great in heaven. For in the like manner did their fathers unto the prophets." And by the way, there were prophets came across this world back in the Old Testament, and they were treated with disdain. They were, for instance, if you go back to Nehemiah, when Nehemiah was on the wall, he had Sanballat and Tobiah down there saying, "Look, we're the elite crowd, Nehemiah. We're the elite guys around here. We're the guys of authority around here and everything, and we're going to spit on your name, and we're going to curse your name, and we're going to take it before the king and say, you are a troublemaker," and all this and that. Nehemiah said, "Well, go ahead. I'm going to leap for joy, because I'm fixing to work and fix this wall, and I'm not going to pay one bit of attention to you." And he went ahead and did it. Elijah, they ran Elijah out of town, and Jeremiah, they threw Jeremiah in a well, and all of the Old Testament prophets at one time or another were thrown out, and Jesus himself was put out of his own country. And listen, if you're going to follow the Lord, do not look for the world to get behind you and clap their hands and usher you on and say, "Here, boy, here's a handful of money." You don't think the world ain't going to do nothing for you. It's going to down you. It's going to curse your name. It's going to lie about you and do everything else. "But woe unto you that are rich, for ye have received your consolation. Woe unto you that are full, for ye shall hunger. Woe unto you that laugh now, for ye shall mourn and weep. Woe unto you when all men shall speak well of you, for so did they their fathers of the false prophets. But I say unto you which hear, love your enemies, do good to them which hate you, bless them that curse you, pray for them which deceitfully use you, and unto him that smiteth thee on the cheek, offer also the other, and him that taketh away thy cloak, forbid not to take thy coat also. Give to every man that asketh of thee, and of him that taketh away thy goods, ask them not again. Wow. Oh my goodness. Oh. This is pressure put on. This is pressure put on. This is pressure put on right here. We've been rode hard and put up wet. We're like a horse that's been treated bad, whipped, covered with sweat, and didn't get wiped down, and just stuck in a stall to stand there and shiver in his own sweat and not be cleaned up or wiped down. And that's what we're like as Christians. We're used up, and people use us up. They know we're Christians. And I had a man yesterday, just overbearing situation, and my wife said, well, you put yourself in that position. I said, babe, I could have slept tonight if I didn't help that guy. And she said, well, nobody else would have him. Well, I'm not nobody else. I'm me, and I gotta have him whether I like it or not. And that's just the way it is. And as you would that man should do unto you, do also unto them likewise. For if ye love them which love you, what thank have ye? For sinners also love those that love them. And if you do good to them which do good to you, what thank have ye? For sinners also do even the same. And if ye lend to them of whom ye hope to receive, what thank have ye? For sinners also lend to sinners to receive as much again. Man, the pressure's on this morning for this old boy right here. I'm working with what seem to be takers, and takers take, and takers take, and Christians give, and Christians give, and Christians give, and Christians give, and they're not supposed to think, oh, about the takers. I've had to use a stone. Oh, I use a stone, I carry it. A stone I cannot see through. I cannot see through the stone. I have a very problem with myself, being a human being. Listen to me. Let me tell you, I'm going to stop right there, and I'll start over again on the next excerpt. But I went to a meeting a year or so ago, Christian meeting, preaching, and kind of with my eye, being a human being, looking around, I spied a lady dressed in the attire of a harlot, and I said in my brain, wow, that's not a good way for a Christian to come to church in this particular attire. And at the end of the service, this lady went down and prayed and asked Jesus to forgive her sins, come into her heart and save her soul. She was a harlot. The next night she was there dressed like a real lady, looking like a new person, and was a new person. And I had my stone there. Just a little while ago we gave a big supper, and in that supper we had many people come that weren't even members. I'd never seen them before, and ate very healthy or very unhealthy, and my eye got in my way for a minute or two. At the end of it, 25 got saved. Let's look at the end of the matter and not in the middle. Let's not make snap judgments. Let's put the stone between us and what's happening, and shut our mouth and shut our mind and shut our eyes and say, Lord, you're going to have the end of it right.